Welcome everyone to the Overwatch League APAC edition. Yes, you are not seeing things. We are back, baby, and I'm so excited to be joined with Trid once again. Vicky Kitty here, and we're going to be taking you guys through a gauntlet of matches that we have on our hands here.
Yeah, day 2 of the final week of the qualifiers for the Summer Showdown. We've had a couple of teams that have already secured themselves a place in the tournament. Unfortunately, one team that's been removed from elimination so far, but we'll get into the nitty-gritty in a little bit. For now, you can see at the bottom of your screens, we've got Spark versus Charge, our first matchup of the day, and let's take a look at those standings. This is for the entire season, though, so don't get baited. Things may not look as they appear when we take a look specifically at this stage. But as you can see in the Eastern region, not really surprising anyone, Vicky. Dynasty and Dragons still on top for now.
Absolutely, and you know what's so important about this right here, Trid, is the fact that Charge are now officially on top of the Valiant after their performance in the match that they just had yesterday versus the Hunters in a clean 3-0. So things are getting shaken up here a little bit. Of course, you want to be in that top 3 spot in the East region because that will be able to allow your team to directly qualify into the playoffs. So that's great news here for the Dynasty, the Dragons, and of course the Spark we're going to be seeing for later today.
Time for the stage standings as well. Kind of already alluded to it. The Valiant, unfortunately, will not be making it to the tournament next week. Instead, we have Dragons and Dynasty have got their positions. Only 2 spots remain, Vicky. And the Philadelphia Fusion and the Spark, they're going to have to be playing out over the next couple of days to secure those wins.
It's going to be difficult here. I mean, we got some pretty interesting series on our hands, but this first one, I have to admit here, Trid, is going to be my favorite. We have the Guangzhou Charge versus the HangzhouSpark.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the Spark roster first. Alpha Yi back in the rotation after a temporary little break. And so this is like the roster we expect from the Spark. They, they've had to have a couple of iterations over the stage of this tournament where they have been missing a few players. They've been given the time. I think this is probably going to be one of the better iterations of the Spark we see over this season. And to be honest, they're probably going to need it in the matchup today against the Charge. The Charge have been a team, I think, who have done quite well in the current meta. I think they've been able to find solutions to solve the Junker Queen problem. I refer to it as a problem, don't worry. We'll fix it at some point. But yeah, there's the roster there. Shy, Alpha Yi, Burner, Irony, Super Rich, and it's amazing to see a bunch of the players on this roster who are having a fantastic rookie season in the Overwatch League, and to the point where people are asking where these players are and saying that they would fix problems, particularly Alpha Yi. They're just like, where's Alpha Yi? He's probably going to do really well here because Genji's doing really cool right now, and Genji's a core component of what's happening. So, yeah, Spark looking really strong right now. I personally think they can eke out the win against the Charge today, even though the Charge are looking a little bit spicy.
Don't let me, Trid. I know you absolutely love this meta. I know you and Avro. I know this is Avro's favorite meta too. I was telling him about it earlier today. I can't even say that with a straight face. But now taking a look at the Charge, you mentioned them. You mentioned their progress throughout this stage for all the right reasons. Because after what we had seen in last week between the Spark and the Hunters took it 3-1 over them. But guess who took it over the Hunters just yesterday in a dominating fashion? It was the Guangzhou Charge. Choi Se-won, Prong, they had a very pop-off game, rather series of games yesterday. And of course, Jimmy does what Jimmy does best. Always trying to promote the rest of it. Yes, Trid. And he continuously does it. But I have to admit, Choi Se-won yesterday was on another level. There's a reason why he was our chosen MVP for that match. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out because of the things that we were mentioning before. I mean, has Spark missing out on Alpha Yi, who was stuck in quarantine zone, Irony too, who had some time that he had to take off himself. Did any of this time take away from Spark's ability to practice this meta, to find some time to run some scrims here? I mean, yeah, we have Alpha Yi back into the mix since, I believe, last week, but have they been able to keep up with the other teams like the Charge after what we had seen from them in their series against the Hunters and even dropping a map to the Valiant?
Look, in terms of depth with this composition, it's not super complex in terms of what you pick and what you bring into the table. A lot of the refinement these teams are going to go over the course of the tournament is just going to be about tidying up mistakes and just working on how they work together effectively. So having that time to be able to sync up with players who may have had to take a back seat due to various reasons, it's going to just strengthen the team, but it's not like there's a huge compositional change that comes into play. The heroes you're going to see are very static, very fixed. The only variations really come on of like whether we're going to see a Sojourn or an Ashe instead, or there's some weird messy times where Cassidy comes out for some reason. But for the most part, it's typically going to be Ashe and Sojourn where you see the variance. Most of the team's pretty stable.
One other variant that we've also been able to see throughout this stage is the Echo as well. We saw it yesterday where the Echo wants to duplicate the Junker Queen, and then, I mean, what's better than just one Junker Queen is having two on the screen. Imagine that ante when you build up that Rampage as quick as possible. It's the support ults that are incredibly important, but the one factor in this meta that we have on our hands that I always look at least is the Genji. How much impact is that Genji getting? Can the Genji dive in, have some backup from the Junker Queen to isolate either the enemy Sojourn or pick off the enemy Brigitte, deny that rally, deny that speed boost? And it would actually be really interesting to see how Alpha Yi coming out of last week is gonna match up against the likes of Choi Siwon here in this matchup. That's really what I'm gonna be focusing on when I'm looking at these two teams.
And sometimes with that focus as well, like, we need to bear in mind that sometimes it's not even the kills that are going to actually be the impact here. If you can draw ultimates out, particularly the support ultimates, to deny them from other responses, or if you can pull the resources back to protect the Brigitte and the Sojourn, you are still finding value. But more so it's on what your team does with the attention you draw and the resources you pull into defending your attack. So yes, keep an eye on the Genjis. Don't get too fixated on the kill feed necessarily, because that won't be the indicator of success all the time. It's how much resource the enemy team has to put in to dealing with the ultimate. But if you're Choi Siwon, however, the kill feed tends to be where you end up anyway. But I'm saying,
it's about denying that space and that opportunity, as well as the fact that you have to imagine forcing out some of those support ults. So I believe we just lost Trid. It's okay, Trid will be able to come back soon. Don't worry, guys. We're just getting our players set up here. But while we get set up and as we took a look at the Charge and the Spark, it's nice to note that our first map is going to be going onto Oasis. So now, going into a control map here, we're going to be able to see how this is going to match up against the Spark, because I am looking at the way that the Spark are going to try to play this out. Charge, obviously having Choi Siwon here on this roster has really done them justice. Of course, Xerneas, Jimmy, another one that has been able to pop off coming from the Hunters. They played against their former team just yesterday, really popped off. Looked like they were having a lot of fun, maybe a little too much fun, but you know what? In this point, especially looking at the stage standings, you want to be able to solidify that position for either third or fourth place here, because we already know that the Dragons of the Dynasty have punched their ticket in the top 2 spots of the East. So looking at what we're going to have on our hands here, I'm excited to see what the Charge do, because basically here, after taking that win yesterday, that sets them up with 3 wins. And I believe that is the minimum requirements that we have seen so far with a lot of these teams in punching in their ticket for the official tournament. So Summer Showdown may be on the horizon here for the Charge. Just going to get set up right now. Going to get set up for our first map as we wait out on Trid here too.
I am back.
Hey, Trid.
I was so excited for this match. Gremlins assaulted me. And they took down the source of my power, which is my PC, to deny me from viewing this absolute spectacle between the Spark and the Charge. As you can see, I don't know if you covered this, Vicky. I'm coming in blind here, but Oasis is our first map.
Yep.
Gonna kick things off with a control as we jump into map number 1. Hopefully the teams are ready to go. Do you know what's really cool, Vicky? When we were getting ready earlier, we have our little feeds up, and we can see kind of the player cams in the background of what's going on. And while we're getting set up, in the background on one of the cameras, I just see like a whiteboard lecture going on in the Spark HQ. They're just going through the game plan. They're probably saying, "Don't do this, you idiots. This is how you play the game. Remember." And like getting the slam, ooga booga, slam desk, kill people. That's great. This seems to be the strategy, and it's working out a lot in this Junker Queen meta.
I like Trid Coach here. I actually really, I feel like this would just automatically improve my own gameplay. Don't do that. Don't be dummy.
Ooga booga,
don't be dummy. Don't get killed. All right, just win. All right, getting started right now here on Oasis. I scratched the surface a little bit of this first map here, Trid, but I also noted here that this is going to be super important once again for the Charge, as they already had won that third series that they really needed to be able to be in that comfort zone to punch their ticket into the Summer Showdown, as you can really see Xerneas taking onto the high ground.
Yeah, we've got the support there of far away behind them. Nice little support pocket. You can see the Spark are actually very far spaced out. They're all paying attention to Alfie, as the attention seems to be turning over to Kron right now. they're all going to back out. Teams have seemed to have regrouped as they rotate around to the point. It's unlocked, and Shy's going to take out Choice A1 first. Not a great start for the charge, as the Spark can now move on onto the point and clear out these members. No taxation coming in on the back end of that for the charge, so it's looking pretty clean. But he did get away with that first cap, so it stagnates the amount of progress the Spark can make on this first fight with.
It's 8% here for the charge, but what a way to open things up. Alpha, you kind of telling Choice of what I hope you guys missed me, because I am back and I'm here to shine. They had some extra time to also practice for this final week. That's going to mean a lot here for the Spark. But with that shout there too, Trid, you saw that they were able to actually clean up the rest of the charge, stagger them a little bit.
Yeah, just going to build up more of that time percentage here as they set themselves up. Going to dive straight in. Oh, Burner needs some help, and he's going to get just that to keep alive. Shout coming in just to reinvigorate the rest of the Spark and his conflict. Krong going down low, has to back out. They cannot sustain that position. He's going to have to give up the space. Choice A1 coming in clutch though to find Super Rich, and there's the cleanup. Charge will get the flip here, just around about 42-43% by all said and done.
Krong desperately needed to also get that pick there too, because he fell super low, so he wanted to get the passive healing real quick from the Carnage, and now the Charge are going to be able to take that point. And looking at this now, you can see Xerneas already ahead of Super Rich in terms of that sound barrier, so both of the Charge support lineups here are going to be able to have the support ults to combat that from the Spark. Looking at Alpha E and that Blade, and where's that impact that we were mentioning before to try to match that with Choice of One?
Still playing catch-up a little bit here on the Junker Queen, so easy conscious of that. The Blaze already coming out for Alpha E, who's dived straight into this fight. Slash around for Kron, turns the tension too far away. Don't have to worry about that acclamation. A byproduct of this fight, Vicky, is that Bernard is going to storm ahead when it comes to the use of that Rampage in the next couple of fights.
The Rampage putting in the work, but the Blade from Alpha E and the patience there too after Xerneas had used the sound barrier to actually deal with the Blade. Hearing that come online, the Charge didn't burn too much minus that sound barrier though, so Krong's didn't get that Rampage online soon. Faraway didn't burn that rally, so he got it at the very end of that fight, and so has Choice of One as Bernard now gonna have the Rampage himself.
Round. The core of the fight. There's the overclock coming in from Jimmy. Everyone's very healthy right now. Gonna have to be accurate with the headshots. Choice One's been removed. Barner's gone down. Rampage not gonna find anyone there. I think he got cancelled out potentially, or at least boats away by Faraway. Probably have to get a replay on that one later. Charge are holding their own for the time being. Rampage available for Krong. Don't think they're going to want to have to use this though. They are entering into that final fight territory, but it looks like they will get the flip, and they're going to need that ultimate for the defense they're about to embark on.
Despite that, the rally from Faraway as he was taken down there, that first pick from Shy really helped out the Spark, but then the fight unfortunately just snowballed as Choice of One with the Jagged Blade gets taken out. Alpha E dives in right afterwards. That's 2 out for the Charge, and right now the Spark are already at 93% Trid.
Yeah, this is a dire situation for the Charge. The flip will come in. If any resistance comes out here or anyone else drops, they're going to have no chance of going for the retake. It's going to be messy as it is. You can see Choice A1 going over to Tracer, Jimmy on the McCree. You can pretty much count this one out, Vicky. There's no way that the Charge are going to be able to find a pop-off. Hang on a minute. No. Jimmy, Choi, no! You can't be doing this one. You can't be getting away with this. The Charge finding 2, but they need to convert even more to make this successful, Vicky. They're on the point, holding out in overtime. If they could just clear out Alpha E, who's very low right now, they have a chance to get the flip, but Bernard has started the counter-attack for the Spark.
How did Alpha E not die in that fight, Trid? That was absolutely huge. And Bernard holding it off angle to force the Charge to actually be stuck in the middle in a Spark sandwich. They delayed that. They denied the opportunity for Charge to flip that point that they desperately needed. And I'm already going to say this right now. Off of that first point in this first map alone, Trid, I'm excited to see how the rest of the series is going to go down.
Just Jimmy and Choice A1 being able to come back on picks purposely designed just to get and touch the point. Yeah. Right? They're just there to be fast, maybe get a quick pick. It's just unreal that they managed to get away with that one, pick up the 2 kills.
So close.
Sound barrier there as well, nearly found himself. But good use of space there to put terrain between them so he couldn't get cleave damage afterwards. So Xerneas having a little bit of presence of mind there to stay up.
I'd be sitting on the edge of my seat if I was Xerneas right there, but he knew what he had to do, backing away a little bit.
Sitting on the edge of his beat, Vicky. He's sitting on the edge of his beat.
And getting to live it through there. Spark already going to contest the Charge here on this high ground right now. See Choice of One going to try to match up with Alpha E, but Alpha E's survivability in that last round was insane.
Very slippery for a metallic Genji player. Probably got some WD-40 on there. I mean, if the blade is going straight at the surface, it doesn't really slip off. It just decapitates at that point. So Alfie can't really slip away from that one. Jimmy also feeling the hurt of the blade after being taken out. There's a lot of damage dealers just missing from this fight now. This is going to be even harder to actually have a successful win because it's just tanks and supports on the field for the most part. Carnage denied their good pushback. Kron under pressure. Super Rich then converting it into a kill. Fantastic to see from Spark, but it's point presence given over to the charge.
Super Rich with that spacing here as the Spark are going to be able to flip back the point in their favor. Saw Krong earlier on with that shout. Try to enable the rest of the charge shot. Try to hold that choke point, but Spark taking some of these off angles. They've been a little cheeky since that first round here too, and now they're going to have that advantage on the point.
Yeah, get the road flip in. See Xerneas just doing a bit of scouting with Choi. Extra support there on a forward operating unit. Alfie went from being slippery to very sticky. Very sticky right now. The things that get stuck into him are pointy objects like knives and blades. Alfie removed once again really early into this one. But Spark have given up the point.
Giving up the point, and Choi So-won baiting Irony towards him to allow the cleanup from the rest of the charge to sandwich him from behind, and Bernard's going to meet him right back in the spawn there. 2 down for the Spark, and while Charge are going to be able to flip that point, it's going basically back and forth between both of these teams now. Super Rich also going down there. He's going to make his way back. He's going to have that sound barrier online very soon.
Yeah, good options coming on across the board from the supports as all the ultimates. So going to come online roughly the same time. Xerneas a little bit further ahead. Support ult, the only damage ultimate that's available, in fact the only ultimate on the board right now is a huge advantage in favor of the charge. You've got Dragon Blade, which someone's going to pop immediately on cooldown pretty much. And Spark are backing off, they're just getting obliterated here. Don't want to be committing resources into this, it's a lost fight. Go for the reset, Spark, and then go on your counter attack.
Look at Choi saying hi real quick to them as they exit the spawn here too. Something that I was mentioning to Avro yesterday, and we were talking a little bit about it, but with this meta, we've been seeing a lot of these spawn camps coming in, more than I've usually been able to see in my history of casting Overwatch, and it's interesting to see how a lot of these teams have been able to position themselves as Xerneas has that sound barrier. He's going to use it to counter Alpha Yi, who wants to dive in with the blade. Nice little boot, but Super Rich is going to try to keep him alive here. Now the rally, but a huge rampage coming online, landing onto 4 of the charge. Bernard with the Carnage and as well as the Rampage going to be able to take care of Xerneas. The support lineup of the charge could not keep the rest of them alive because of the timing, not only between the Rampage, but they wanted to counter the blade from Alpha Yi. They didn't have the resources necessary to counter the Rampage, so they already burned up the rally and the sound barrier from the charge.
But that's what we were talking about at the top of the match, Vicky, was like, you don't necessarily have to get kills. If you can at least burn some resources, like the beat, you're in a good spot. Because Xerneas beat Soundwave as well to knock back Alpha Yi, keep them out of the fight. But then you just see that huge cut through from Bernard, as we saw, and then off the back of that, amazing cleanup from the rest of the Spark to win out the fight. So, we now have basically dry fights. Shy has the overclock available, but we're looking towards Krong's Rampage. That's definitely going to be the more impactful of the 2 ultimates when it comes to the context of a team fight. However, Shy could just do Shy things with those unlimited railgun shots. Alfie's out, Rampage cuts through, there's free, puts himself in traffic, but is able to escape from that one for now. But the carnage is happening elsewhere on the map. Spark are giving up this position and so close to being a charge round win.
Got a little scared right there when he used the Rampage into the traffic, but that also isolated him from the rest of the charge, and that because of that, you can see some of these isolated picks coming off from the Spark. Overtime ticking away as the Spark are going to flip this point back in their favor, and they're going to have a plethora of ultimates to work with, but the one that they have to look out for the most is going to be Choi So-won's Blade.
Yes, 100%. Choi So-won's Blades are coming online. Support ultimates are pretty far away. If Super Rich pulls off some shenanigans, might be able to get a beat in the next fight. However, it's going to be a bit of a tall order. So if Choi So-won and Charge use this on tempo, which they should do.
Wow.
Oh, Irony's down. You might even need to use the Blade to close this round without Vicky. He's definitely going to try and get the capture here. 1% left. If the Sparks show themselves, Choi is revealing that Blade and going straight for the back line.
99 to 99, Choi So-won already dealing with a lot of these back-end pressures, and he dives in with a blade. He finds Bernard. Now the number is in the favor of the charge as the overtime is ticking away. 3 down from the Spark. Super Rich is desperately trying to make his way there, but unfortunately he cannot make it in time. Even though he was so close to that barrier, it's Choi So-won who ends up being that gauntlet to prevent them from actually touching that point.
Ties up the map quite nicely, sending us to Gardens to close it out and see who takes the early lead in this series. very much seeing the clutch potential of the Charge here. Yes, they didn't win out the first round with their clutch, but put in a valiant effort. And not the LA Valiant. They've put in a lot of effort, but not much attainment this stage so far. So just a regular Valiant one.
Gotta
sorry,
give it props
Tay
sometimes.
I'll send you a flower basket.
Oof. You know, I gotta give it props to him though. He always has to show that support to the Valiant.
Super
you know,
fan.
sometimes some of that energy carries them. But looking over at what we're gonna see here, Trid, I feel like we're playing hot potato between Alpha Yi and Choisewan, and it's been very entertaining so far between the first round. Alpha Yi, of course, being the one to dominate the control over that choke point that leads to the point. Choisewan doing the same here in round number 2. Now, who's gonna control the high ground here? Xerneas is gonna be able to try to get up here, maybe get some boots. They already get Alpha Yi though out of the fight for Choisewan.
I think it's the Charge. The Charge going to control this high ground, Vicky, by virtue of having the majority of the numbers. And then you're taking out both damage dealers now. Yeah, Alpha, you can get back fast, but the fight's already over. That's going to be first cap going over the Charge, and they also pick up quite a handful of ultimate charge on their side. Usually, I'm going to say usually, the team that's receiving the most damage typically pulls ahead and support ultimate charge. Not the case here. Charge, by virtue of having all their members alive, were able to keep Xerneas and Farway up, so they go leaps and bounds ahead when it comes to the rally charge for the next couple of fights. Probably won't see that come into play until maybe around about the 40%, 50% mark based on how quickly these fights go. But it's something to pay attention to. That early ult advantage has already been given over.
See Alpha Yi already trying to dive onto the high ground real quick though. Gonna be able to get away as a charge now with that shout. Gonna be able to survive. Choisewan's gonna be able to jump right back here. And with Farway being able to find Irony, Shy already gone, like you said before here. Alpha Yi does manage to get that one pick, but you're out 3 members here in a meta where dropping one teammate is more than enough to force you to back away. So the Charge are going to be able to take another team fight here in this 3rd point.
Look, we've all seen enough GOATs in the past couple of years to understand that losing a member or two pretty much kills a composition sometimes, barring some pop-off potential. So watching 1 or 2 members go down pretty much spells the beginning of the end sometimes in these engagements. Charge still on top, ult's about to come online. Basically got that 100% to nearly 60% rally charge, but it's Choisewan's blade that's really pulled the advantage here. Could potentially look to use this on tempo, but if Charge can sort this out the final fight territory, then go for the big deployment, that's going to be a big net win for them, and they can just win the map off of that. It's on them to try and stall this fight out, I imagine, or if they can get picks, just mute any offensive Spark would want to map.
That and try to pull ultimates as Krong unfortunately goes down first here, but with that sound barrier, now that's going to be the green light for Alpha Yi to also use a blade, but if he can even have the chance, Jimmy won't let him, and Choisewan now has the advantage with the blade himself. He's going to be able to dive right in. You have to watch out for the rally, or rather the Farway trying to keep him alive with the rally. Jimmy's still on the high ground, and here you have Xerneas Farway cleaning up things here in these close quarter fights. Jimmy now being able to come out on top. Nobody from the Spark is going to be able to touch this point. Well, for Alpha, he's going to desperately try to dive in with the blade, but you're by yourself. Overtime ticking away. Well, yeah, you're gone already. Nobody really having that time.
You have a stun. You have 2 knockbacks. Alpha Yi had to do. That's the only thing Alpha Yi could do is pull the blade, try and get a pick there. But like, yeah, if you're in that position as a Genji, you got both supports, and you got the tank, and you got the entire team just watching you. Can't really get away with much there. I love what the Charge did. I love the confidence they had at the end there. They lose Krong before the fight starts, but you know what? They know they have the blade. They know they have the beat. They know they can stall this out and try and weave some kills here because Jimmy also has the ultimate ramping up in that fight. So you lose Krong, you slam the beat on to stabilize everyone, you let Choisewan get the beat out, so get the blade out, suddenly starts hacking people down, then Jimmy and the rest of the team come in and do cleanup duty just to win out the fight in a 4v5 starting point. Love the confidence, love the closeout. Charge, leading the series.
And what I really liked right there too, Trid, was that when Alpha Yi saw that the sound barrier had been used, you saw Alpha Yi immediately try to dive in for an opportunity to contest Farway, who had popped the rally in that close quarter fight. So basically kind of baiting him into those close quarters, and he didn't even have the opportunity to pop that blade himself. I love the way the Charge are playing here. It's kind of going back and forth though with Spark taking that first round. Now we're going to be going on to a map number 2, and that's going to be coming after this short break. Welcome back, everyone, to the first series that we have on our hands. The first map is already in the books, and we are moving on to Midtown. And after that first game that we saw so far, Trid, I'm excited because it looked like it was going back and forth, minus that third round on that first map where Toysa1 was dominating the front lines.
Yeah, Choi having the time of his life on the Genji here. Alfie find themselves going down a little bit too early in the fights, especially on round number 3. I think there's a lot of 4v5s that were going in the favor of Charge just because Alfie was getting picked off quite early before there's actually any real engagement. I think if Alfie can tie that up a little bit and be more participating more consistently in these fights, I think Spark will have an opportunity to still be in this series. But if Charge are able to still get away with a couple of clean picks, maybe call out some clutch potential when things don't go their way, I can see Charge taking over this series quite quickly. And if they go to match point after this map, Vicky, oh boy, I do not see the Spark coming out of that hole.
It's gonna be difficult. I mean, look at how Choi is looking right now. He's sipping on his drink. He is
sipping on his juice.
Yeah, he's feeling it right now, man. You can see the way that the Charge are looking, full of confidence. Nice to know as we move on to the second map, though, it's the Spark that have the Charge's numbers this season. The Charge does have a different look, yes, but at the moment, the Spark are one of those top contended teams that when you take a look at what's been going on in APAC, they're in that conversation. Yeah, the Seoul and the Shanghai Dragons are on a different level, completely on their own. I would like to say, I said this with Albert yesterday as well, where if you could put down a tier break, I feel like there's 2 tier breaks between the Dynasty and Dragons and then everybody else in APAC, but the Spark are kind of right after that right there. So it's interesting to see how some of these adjustments that the Guangzhou Charge have made in their roster have really come alive in this stage.
Let's see them get ready to go on the offense, and no surprises to me, Vicky. I don't think either of these teams are ones that vary their compositions too much when it comes down to the head-to-head. Both quite comfortable taking the Sojourn flavor of this composition. Of course, you'll see someone like Jimmy potentially go for a quick shot out of spawn to punish anyone who's being cheeky, but will ultimately go back to the Sojourn afterward. They try to do that, and no one falls victim of it. No one's going to be cheeky and challenge them, and so Charge go out on the offense.
You know this game, you know how it goes, especially here on Midtown in that first point, as Jimmy's going to be able to try to get in some poke pressure from below that bridge. See Spark are going to have that split position, though, here with Irony right behind Bernard. Charge, though, already trying to dive into that side room to try to overtake that point on the high ground here. If they can find a little angle, but Alpha E's trying to stop them at the same time.
Yeah, just going to take it slow, wait and see if you can build up some cooldowns, go for some picks. Xerneas going very dangerous in that corner. Not enough charge in Shy's gun to take a second railgun shot, and of course at that distance, the spray down, not going to be the most consistent to catch a fast move from Lucio. Recovery's there, but Bernard charges forward. First couple of kills coming in for the Spark. Far away answers back with 1 tax, but it does not change the outcome. First defense goes the way of the Spark.
Oh, though you lost out on Irony and Super Rich, and Bernard falls incredibly low here. Choi, though, finds himself low instead, and Bernard with the shout at the very end does just enough to make sure he stays alive, and Choi meets the rest of the Charge in the spawn.
So having the elongated fight like that can sometimes cause some issues. Everyone's back and able to get back on the defense, so there's no overlap here using spawn advantage. The Charge are going to have to push through again. They've already burned about half of their time bank, Vicky, so need to get a move on here. Looking across the board at the ultimates, advantage definitely sitting in the side of the Spark. Faraway can get the rally online, but by itself it's not really going to do much, considering that there's usually some good responses on the opposing team to deal with that. They're moving over to the point, and a Carnage cuts through. They're going to find that first pick, and Alfie's gone down!
Alfie's out for the count. Even with that shot, it wasn't going to even help him stay alive. So the Jagged Blade onto Krong as he gets taken down as well. The Charge, though, they do lose out on Faraway and Krong, so the rally won't be online here as the Spark are going to continuously hold that high ground on the bridge. They're going to clean up the rest of the Charge. Some trades at the very beginning were in favor of the Charge, but the way that the Spark are holding this choke point trade is actually really great in terms of their positioning. Essentially just sandwiching and diving in on Charge every single time that they get overzealous after 1 pick.
All this does, Vicky, is just converts into more of this time bank being burned. 1 minute 40 left for the Charge right now. Got a rally and a blade to use here. Shy could be very cheeky, use that overclock and just use the instant pick potential of the railgun to make an immediate 4v5. We've seen Charge push through them if they have an ultimate advantage, but they don't in this instance. So you have to pay respect and they'll have to back out. It's all about time wasting here for Spark. Blade comes out for Alpha E. They can get a cut through here and then the push before it begins. It's all over. That's 2 picks, Carnage and a Blade. I'll follow up with the second. They're going to get another clean one. Now makes this very dangerous for the Charge, Vicky. Sub 1 minute time bank. This is going to be their final attempt, and they still have to run into a bunch of ultimates stockpiled by the Spark.
They've been piling up their own ultimates, but just have not had any opportunity to really take advantage of that. Alpha E had an opportunity as he actually set himself up for the flank, and then he had Irony right there, Bernard as well, with the shout to put him in position. But like you mentioned already, less than 60 seconds on the clock. Xerneas has the sound barrier right now here too. Gotta look at Bernard though, and his rampage to see how he's gonna open things up. Choice of one, is he gonna get denied here? He gets healed up thanks to the rally, and now the rampage managed to land on Choice of one, managed to land on Far Away, but the fact that he's able to stay alive from the shout, and
great
Krong
counter by
now
Krong.
gets taken out immediately afterwards. Alpha E finds Krong immediately. Yes, they lose out on Shy from the Spark, but this is Irony now falling low. Super Rich needs to keep the rest of Spark alive, or the Charge are not going to be able to move up to this point finally.
33%, it does deny the draw, so it does mean we're going to get a win, even if the full hold does come through here. Spark opening themselves up to some chaos by doing that. Does not mean we're going to get a full hold. Choice 01 getting 1 pick. Shy comes back with the railgun to find Xerneas. The sticking power of the composition pretty much removed once you get the Doom as well. Overtime should tick down here. People will filter in, but that is close to being a full hold for the Spark. And what a way to come back from a map 1 defeat.
Despite Irony and Bernard going down in the middle of that fight there, though, you had Super Rich that was still alive there. You saw Alpha E get enabled, get put into that position, so that way he could clean up the rest of the Charge and delay what the Charge wanted to prevent. That's why they made some of those desperate swaps into the Doomfist. They wanted to get to the point as quick as possible to try to beat the Spark to it, but the Spark were able to actually filter right back to the point, defend it from the Charge, and although the Charge did manage to get that 1 tick, though, that's not the results that they wanted.
Look, they avoid the draw. That's probably the most important thing for both the players. It just means that, hey, this could be over quite quickly as well. Spark get 1 good offense. Where the spawn locations are, if they can make it a clean fight win, no stagger potential, they can close this map out very quickly and tie up the series and go for a full reset on the scoreboard pretty much. So it's looking pretty good if you're a Spark fan right now. A lot to be excited about because, look, it's going to be stagnated. You're probably going to get Shy and Jimmy. They're going to build up their railgun, and Shy is probably going to hit like a cheeky headshot on someone, make it a 4v5, Spark will push through, and they'll do it in about 1 minute and 30 seconds.
The profit
I've transcended and seen the future.
The profit trade. And then we got Bernard
the thing is, though, if that actually happens, though, come on now, that's pretty impressive. I don't think it will. I think we'll probably have something a little bit more intense, a little bit more stagnated, but they're on the rollout now. They're all on the offense. They've got a pretty low benchmark to hit to complete this map.
Jimmy already falls low here, though. Dry as Bernard's going to be able to try to dive in. The shout, though, to enable the rest of Spark. Getting a bit extra aggressive, more aggressive than I was expecting right here. Bernard gets punished for it. The rest of Spark are trying to back away in time, but Super Rich is going to get caught off here. If he can't manage to get away, Choice of One's going to try to sandwich them right behind. And the Charge are going to win this team fight. They need to dwindle away a lot more of this time bank before feeling that confidence. But it's like you mentioned before, too, Trid. It's that patience with the Sojourns just trying to charge up that railgun, make the ability to actually get a play going down with the overclock, with that unlimited charge there too. So now they're going to be able to play this patiently, see what we're going to have on our hands between Shy and Jimmy.
So it's exactly as I predicted, Vicky. If we roll back the footage, we can validate that. The Spark went in very aggressively, and Charge were able to shut them down, lock them in the tiny Overwatch rune, and win the first fight, just as I predicted at the start of this round. So no need to go back and look at the footage, actually. We're sure we can just believe every word I've just said. Looking at this Charge defense, though, Blade online for Choice A1 coming up soon. The way they've been playing, I'm not shy about them actually getting that 100% quite quickly. Nice disruptive shot, just breaks up the flow of play. Jimmy will have to reposition massively because you can see the Spark have started to take territory away from them. Xerneas actually getting that first kill onto Irony. This is really a little bit sloppy by the Spark. They keep splitting the team up, and Charge just pick one division of the team, go into them, take them out before anything can be accumulated. And now they're at 2 minutes 20. I was worried for the Charge coming into this round, Vicky. I actually think they can full hold this.
With the way that they're playing right now, it's definitely doable. If the Spark keep trying to contest that side room, they are trying to split push through that bridge there. And Jimmy also has noted that, where Jimmy's not the one that's going to get caught off guard when he's playing through the backside by the fire truck. He sees Alpha E dive in. He has that slide that he's going to be able to get back into the high ground. Not Choice wants, got the blade. He's trying to find the opportunity. He's found it with Irony. He's found it with Shy. Yeah, he gets shut down by Super Rich, but that's two huge picks down out from the Spark here. Bernard's still alive, but just barely, as Super Rich is the only one that could help sustain him and that shout. Oh, quick little pause here.
Wonder what that is about. Excuse me, I got killed by a Lucio as a blading Genji. That shouldn't be happening. Choice 1 probably complaining about that, I imagine.
Check him. What's going on?
Yeah, check his PC. Check his PC. That's not right. Yeah, so we got a brief pause. We'll try and get you some information about what's actually going on here. I think it's probably going to more likely just be a quick technical thing. Relatively easy to fix, I hope. Don't know who's called it though. 1 minute 40 on the clock. So let's give us a nice little pause screen. We can see information. Unfortunately, you guys can't. So we'll try and relay what's happening right now. Xerneas and Faraway have ultimates available. Krong's at 85%, so Charge in a good position to have a lot of resources to throw at this next fight. They got 1 minute and 40 seconds to still burn through though, so they can still go the other way. Spark across the board generally have a higher ultimate charge. If they can go into this fight, looking at numbers on the board in the fight anyway, it's effectively 3 versus 3 actually, so this is quite balanced. Spark can bleed this fight out a little bit longer, maybe get the support ultimates out from the charge, then come back with ultimates of their own. They could still win this. Or they just naturally win the fight.
I'm looking at Xerneas and Farway. They just take care of Alpha E, who's gonna come in for that final fight potentially with that blade. But it's more so how Xerneas is gonna keep this sound barrier. Is he gonna use it to deal with the rampage, or is he gonna use it to deal with Alpha E and Alpha E maybe trying to go for the flank with the blade?
Look, they're going to have some idea that these ultimates are going to come online. These players know how to ultimate track, so they might not get it 100% right all the time, but they've got a rough idea that they're going to have to deal against these ultimates at some point before the map ends. There's another minute left. So, aggressive play from the Spark here. They're going to use the rally. Faraway's going to answer back into it. Beat's still available. Rampage is going to be available. Burner pulls the trigger first. Beat comes out from Xerneas. Free hit with the anti-heal. 4 on the side of Spark, and they've lost Irony!
Oh, huge Rampage was the one that's hit onto 4 on the Spark, but they managed to come out on top. It was Alpha Yi who had more impact with that blade. The desperate swap from Choi to go onto the Tracer to maybe touch the point. You see Shy's got him in his sights, but he can't even touch the point in time. That's all the Spark needed right there to be able to claim the second map, and we already got an even series on our hands here, Trin.
By virtue of just getting such an incredible defense from the Spark on their first attempt, they were able to just guarantee that the benchmark for success was so low, they just had to win not even the cleanest fight in the world, just get like enough of an advantage to the point where the spawns would just make it impossible for Charge to defend. And they pulled it out right at the end, despite being put on the back foot quite early, and also running up against the ultimate advantage in their favor currently. But as we spoke during the pause, Vicky, Spark, they may not have had any online, but the team average was certainly higher than Charge's. So they were going to be able to have more to bring to the table if the fight got extended, which it did.
Bernard just had such a big impact, not only with this Rampage, but with the shout as well, because once that rally was done, once the sound barrier was already used up, you saw that Alpha E went into position with the blade. They had fallen relatively low because of the enemy Rampage coming in from the charge, but it was Bernard who not only used the Rampage to answer back, but with that shout, it really helped stabilize the rest of the Spark to come out on top of that fight. And again, like we saw, they only needed, just very briefly amount of that one tick. Just they needed to touch a toe on that point to be able to get that second map. And now we got an even series on our hands once again. That was the Spark taking it on to Midtown, but we still got another map coming up soon. It's going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar right after this break. Welcome back, everyone. Spark just take map number 2, so we have an even series on our hands with a little bit of a momentum killer at the very end of that last map, but the Spark still come out on top, conserving those ults, and Alpha E doing what Alpha E loves to do.
I think Choice 01, I haven't been given the official reason, just in my own headcanon of the course of events that happened with the charge. I think Choice 01 spilled their sippy cup, and so we had a little bit of like loose liquid everywhere, which needed some attention quite quickly. I like to think that's what happened. It's funnier in my head that way, but it's probably something boring, like the mouse died or something. It just needed to swap it out.
Can you imagine, though, what a mess it'd be? I mean, they quickly went to clean up if that happens to be the thing, because that pause didn't last too long.
Yeah, it's good that they could have like cleanup on site for that one. Pretty handy, but no,
he's still
tight series.
Yep, he's still got his sippy cup. He's ready.
Yep. The lid looks really loose on that though, Vicky. Like it looks like quite flimsy on top of the cup. So I can believe that slipped off. But it is now, unfortunately, time to jump into Watch Point to Gibraltar. Less about sippy cups, more about spaceships and science and Winston's home territory. It's not really a country. It's homeland. I bet he didn't come from Gibraltar originally. This is where he just settled.
This is where he chills. This is where all of the action happens here.
Well, unfortunately, we won't see Winston. Despite this being a very Winston-favored map, we don't see Winston.
And you won't see Reaper breaking in either here. Not going to work out there.
Absolutely not.
But getting set up here, the charge, they did take that first map going in. The Spark, though, were the ones that come out on top on the defense, doing a really good job at forcing the charge to kind of try to force their way to split push over in Midtown here. Now with the charge starting things off on defense, though, they could come out from losing that map on Midtown and try to replicate that here similarly on Gibraltar. We've seen some goofy things to answer back to the Junker Queen meta that we've had on our hands so far, specifically talking about our contender friends that are now playing in the London Spitfire Trid with the May. And we saw that it had some success to an extent, but this is APAC that we have on our hands. They don't want to take any chances. And as I say that, Bernard is kind of, showing his face with the Orisa, sending out the spear and saying, oh, wait, hold on. Not what you expect here as I swap right back over the Junker Queen.
But the thing is, though, like the spear has the knockback, the Jaded Blade has the pullback, so you can displace them off the edge anyway. Like, it doesn't matter which one you want. I'm not sure what the advantage of the quick, cheeky Orisa was, but it doesn't matter. We knew they were going to switch over to the Junker Queen anyway. Charge pulling head slightly in the ultimate charge as they are just getting set up on this high ground still. Shy's at 100, so if someone pops their head, they may be privy to a railgun shot, but they've lost the charge. Use it or lose it, Shy! Use it or lose it!
Looking for an opportunity if the charge could even give it to them here, though. Bernard forces his way down from the high ground. Alpha E follows up and finds Farway. This is already a good start here for the Spark to get this payload moving. Krong does answer back immediately, though. It's about fighting Krong in that tight quarters, though, as they do manage to take him down, but Jimmy with a nice off angle is going to actually answer right back and find Shy.
Really well played there from the Spark. Bernard using the Jagged Blade to create openings in the kills. Ooh. That would have been Modern Warfare 2, throwing knife off the crane, 360 final kill on Team Deathmatch. That would have landed. But just missed them. Shaved the whiskers off their face, but wasn't able to actually connect there. But no, as we were saying, like, it's a great setup there. Jagged Blade pulls them into the fight, and it creates an opportunity. It's always good to see that being used. Very skirmishy around this first corner. They boxed Irony into a corner. They managed to break free, but it's Krong getting that first kill onto Shy. Alfie's got the blade, but there's no way they're going to use it when they're under this much pressure.
Especially with Shy going down first. Alfie's going to meet him right back. Here comes that shot, though, here to help try to keep them alive at the very least. But the Charge are going to be able to clean them up, finally regain some control underneath that car wash. But now they're going to also be able to get right back to the high ground and reposition, because the Spark were on a bit of a tear. And now you can take a look at the ultimates coming online for them. Farway does have that rally. Xerneas about to get that sound barrier, so the Charge have enough opportunities here to answer right back.
I'm sure they are going to be just fine with this one, Vicky. We've got the blade available to Alpha Yi, but the ultimate's coming online for the Charge, as we've discussed. Whole buffet here. And they're just waiting, lurking as this payload goes underneath the car wash. And they're just being washed with damage, with projectiles, with bullets, as you'd expect.
Xerneas is ready. He's ready to rain some more of that extra damage on the high ground without having to overextend. It could be tricky, though, because...
Don't be a coward. Beat from the top. Beat from the top to the ground. Leave yourself open to being headshot.
Gotta wait for it here. Gotta wait for the opportunity. Spark with the rotations, though. I like this option. You see Alpha Yi getting in position to use this blade right here. Super Rich to try to enable him with the sound barrier right now here, too. With the Rampage, though, landing onto 3, you see Irony falling incredibly low. Shy does as well. Both 3 members of the Spark, none of these kills, though, get finished up, minus Super Rich finally. Choice of one, finally nailing that down. Charge have a lot more sustainability now as Faraway falls incredibly low. They're going to find Bernard, so they won't really have to worry about the Carnage instead here, too. So now the Charge, they do trade just a little bit, but it's Choice of one and Jimmy that really help out, come out on top. And I just have to note here, too, the Disruptor shot, also controlling so much space in that side room there, too, when it comes to a lot of the exit points that the Spark want to use to try to reposition whether they want to disengage or re-engage.
Yeah, that was like the icing of the cake. Like, how sad are you, your Alpha E, right? You pull the blade, you are already on top of Jimmy, ready to take them out, and then Jimmy gets beaten, and then Jimmy suddenly sets a land speed record and jets off in a different direction, completely away from you before you can get that third and final slash in, then drops the Disruptor shot, like you said, to control the space. What do you do with your Alpha E there when there's so many options to shut you down? You didn't even draw that much resource, to be honest. Like, you could probably have pulled more if you were more of a threat. But there's a good answer from the Charge. They're going to use that overclock. They're in a tight corridor. This is a shooting gallery for Jimmy. He's not finding the connections.
This time around, they weren't forced off the high ground. They're actually just jumping off themselves, trying to find the opportunity as the overtime is on board here for the Spark. They're trying to isolate Jimmy. Jimmy getting away, sliding right into the health pack. He manages to stay alive just briefly before Bernard and Irony get taken out. It's the isolation from the Charge that helped them on this defense to force the Spark off this payload and force the payload to stop exactly right here before getting to that first point, Trid.
Good defense in the Charge, no extension, closes it shy of point A, even that home stretch. It's a very winnable benchmark that's been set by the Charge. Very reminiscent of what we saw in the last map on Midtown, where it's pretty much you'd expect a team, barring some major difficulty, to be able to meet the threshold that's been set. We're now going to flip it back around, though. Spark get the luxury of being on the defense. They can set up on the high ground. Charge are going to have to assault. But seeing how willing Charge were to assault Spark, take the fight to them, I don't think they're going to have many problems choosing to fight the Spark on their terms.
Especially at the very end there. I mean, they had to, at that point with the overtime ticking away, they wanted to force the Spark off that payload there before it passed through that entryway past the car wash. But the way that the Charge were able to, not only, they were forced off that second to last fight off that high ground with Alpha E's blade. The repositioning from Charge was instantaneously respected, so they were able to just immediately disengage from that situation. Jimmy, like you mentioned before, was trying to get isolated from Alpha E, but it didn't work out because he was able to get boosted by Xerneas, get out of that spot, also have that Disruptor shot to help back him up as that insurance policy. But the way that the Charge played that at the very end, where they're the ones that took that fight over to the Spark, they split still that attention on the other side of that car wash, was fantastic. Now the Spark are going to try to replicate that here as they're going to be able to wait for the Charge on the high ground.
No sneaky picks. Shy is still staying on the Ashe here, though, Vicky. So we have seen that first kind of stable variation. You know, Jimmy's not going to stay on the Widowmaker. We'll go over to the Sojourn. So Ashe coming out here, slight differences between Sojourn. Yeah, you've been able to have more consistent uptime with long-range damage. You've got the Dynamite, which is great for AoE. That's like more burst rather than causing people to opt into your Disruptor shot. Shy, please don't Dynamite yourself. That's not productive. And they already lose Alpha E, not related to Shy's own self-damage. But look at the progress that's already been made by the Charge. They pretty much got it to the queue. Spark have to come down and fight them. Spark have to opt into this fight.
All right, Bernard manages to get down, stops their push with that payload, but down. This has enabled the Charge to get up to that side positioning in the side room. Irony does find Faraway, though, deny some more of that ult potential that they could charge into, but it's the Spark, though, that lose out on Shy. See Kron getting taken down. The number advantage is in favor of Spark, so the Charge are just going to reset real quick here. Jimmy can't even get away. He does get isolated when he tried to take that off angle, but that did really help out Jimmy when they were able to get that progress, because you saw how quickly the Spark had to actually split their focus when they dropped down from the high ground.
Yeah, just payloads got to a comfortable destination for the Sparks, then they have to commit to a fight, and they will give up their high grounds who have to contest that payload, unfortunately. They can't have that locking position. Good Dynamite, only finds Jimmy. Trade out the Disruptor shot there. Choi working towards this next blade, has the ultimate lead at the moment. I'm sure if he keeps playing this harassment over to the back line of the Spark, he's going to pick it up even quicker. It's much slower from the Charge now. They're just weaving around the point trying to get set up. And you can see the payloads work, like rolled back down the hill effectively, right under the bridge. Dynamite from long range, safe position for Shy. No one's paying them attention. Tight corridor. This could be lethal for the Charge.
Don't really have the opportunity to isolate Shy there too, so he's getting a lot of that damage with the Dynamite. Faraway gets taken down again from Alpha E, so he was able to push up just a little bit more. Even seeing the charge on the high ground right there, the Spark are completely fine with it. They're going to be able to clear this payload right here by the car wash instead. Then they can split their attention to the rest of the charge. The Sound Barrier from Xerneas is going to start the engage from Choice of One and the Blade. Faraway doesn't have the rally yet, but he could get it for the second round. Choice of One gets shut down from Alpha E, but now Alpha E has the Blade that he could just wait out for as the charger is still there by the car wash.
I think Alfie doesn't want to use the Blade here, doesn't want to have to be forced to. The fight's going on too long, and they got the rally coming out just immediately in response. Cut down is there to provide enough damage for the rest of the team to clean up. Alfie going ham under the tunnel to pick up the 3 final blows. 1 minute 20 on the board. They also committed Bob to that. That was a really expensive defense from the Spark right at the end there. I'm pretty sure they wanted to have been in position to save some of those. They have got the Rampage, and unfortunately, Kron's going to level it out, but if Jimmy goes uncontested in his next fight with an overclock, the amount of pressure, even without kills that they can exert, might be able to push the Spark into an unfavorable position for Charge to be able to jump in and clean up.
Especially in this position that Jimmy's trying to take right now, too. They can see that they're trying to find Shy over to the side. I'm looking at Krong and that Rampage. Jimmy to try to match how to put in some of that extra pressure. Faraway died earlier in that last fight with the rally, but that's fine. Looking at the Spark, they don't have those support ults just yet here. It's Bernard and the Rampage that they have to worry about. Krong's going to be able to try to shut that down as Jimmy is in that position that he was in before. Amazing angle as you can see the overclock come online. The charge shots from the railgun. He's found Bernard. Here comes a Rampage. That's what they needed right here, too. But they still were on the point here at the same time. The charge still managed to take it over. The Spark, despite some of those trades going down at the very end.
Look, you didn't get the kill conversion from Jimmy onto Bernard, but you saw how much damage was being caused there by the overclock, dinking into the giant Junker Queen. And even throughout the shout, even throughout the additional healing and the overheal that comes in, still was able to put Bernard in such a situation that they were easy to pick off, couldn't sustain their position on the payload, and ultimately you saw at the end there, Shy having to coach gun themselves to the payload to at least try and stall it out and put it on overtime, which unfortunately they were unsuccessful to do. And even if they did, they had no HP to hold that position. It was just untenable. Charge had done everything they needed to. Jimmy pumping damage into the tank, cleared out the space, and the rest of his team was there to play sweeper duty.
Especially with the Rampage coming in from his team to be able to actually get a lot more of that impact to prevent the other Rampage from actually finding more out of the ante. So a fantastic showcase here from the Charge. They're now sitting at match point trade. I'm excited to see how this is going to play out as we move on to our 4th map here on New Queen Street, and that's going to be on the other side of this break. Welcome back, everyone, to the East. We are currently sitting at match point looking at the Guangzhou Charge in what looks to be a pretty close series between themselves and the Spark, because the Spark are putting up a pretty good fight here, Trey.
Very defensive series, Vicky. We see not much progress being made on these maps at all, so if you're a bit of a tourist of Overwatch maps, not the day for you, unfortunately. We're only getting past like the first door, effectively, and then it's all shut down because these teams are very good at defending. Now, that becomes a little bit different when we move over to our next map, which is of course going to be New Queen Street, a push type map. We will see a lot more of that. It will typically be very back and forth. If it's your first time tuning in and watching a bit of push, yeah, if the team gets basically to the 90 meters, maybe 100 meters mark, you typically call the map at that point. It's very difficult to come back from some of these deficits. So you're looking for these this bot, the blockades to be kept relatively central for a long and healthy map. Any team that gets a significant lead, well, game over, friendos, game over. Now, my question, Vicky, is: do we still see them keep on the Sojourn? We see a couple of Ash variations, particularly when it comes around to New Queen Street. But I have a feeling the variants last time didn't work out for the Shy, so we might end up just sticking with the Sojourn.
I am expecting the Sojourn to stay in place. I do feel like, especially with this meta, the way that we've been able to witness push on New Queen Street and specifically Colosseo, that we've also seen this too, it's very standoffish. Neither team usually wants to try to be the one to get caught off out of position, and it's a lot of trading between the Sojourns. Now, I'm expected to see if the Charge actually really want to roll out with this. Troy has been, you know, going on to the Tracer to desperately touch the point here every so often. No, we're sticking to the Pride and True. That's what we're going to have here. Why swap here, especially with the progress that the Charge have made so far? But that's what I'm expecting here, especially depending on which of these teams manage to claim that high ground first. A lot more standoffish that we usually get to see on the other game types.
Interesting. Look at how they look on the overhead. Both Jimmy and Choi going on the off angle, where it's just Alpha Yi moving over to the side away from the pack. So interesting that they try and set the crossfire like that, move both damage dealers away. It provides Jimmy a position to be able to get some side angles in the team, maybe also back up Choi if they want in that battle for the train carriage. But Alpha Yi, left to his own devices, goes away and gets that first pick on Xerneas. Thankfully, the answer back onto Irony. The fight's really starting to compound now.
Now with Jimmy going down, though, the number advantage is still in favor of the Spark. Alpha E falling just a little bit low. Bernard can't get away in time, though. Choice One managing to capitalize, even if it may cost him his life. But he's right behind Krong. He wants to try to follow up with Krong, and Krong getting sent so low is going to allow right now the Spark to get that progress with the bot first.
Choi, we go for the cut through. Trying to escape. Please don't go down here. What a snipe from Shy at the end there. Using that railgun to good effect, picking up extra stagger potential and really hamstringing the defense of Spark when they get back to this bot.
Now with the Spark having that control, though, now you can see Charge, specifically Jimmy, just trying to get into that angle to try to get one of those charged up railgun shots himself. A match out here from Shy, who's already close to that overclock. Alpha E now trying to take a nice off angle here too. It's that defensive position and playstyle that you and I were mentioning before. It's the way that this entire series has gone off, because this is the point here in this next corner where the Spark don't want to over-contest. They see that there's an entry point for the Charge to come in from the flank. They don't want to get sandwiched here from the Charge, as they are trying to look for that opportunity before.
Yeah, and also this is like really a big sticking point, a big first objective of the map, Vicky, as well, is that we're coming up to that checkpoint. So if you give that and get the forward spawns, it's much more difficult to defend. Push back here, good kiting to get away from the blade of Alpha Yi. No victims down, and actually Alfie ends up losing their life over this one as well.
Although Krong gets taken down, that was really nice of Krong to split that attention from Alpha E. Alpha E couldn't capitalize off of that blade. Everybody was split up here as now the rally coming in from far away to answer back from Alpha E's absence. Now you can see the Spark having Super Rich, having that sound barrier. Irony's about to get the rally here too. The sound barrier to try to answer Choice of One, but it's not going to be enough. He's cleaned up Super Rich. He's cleaned up Bernard. Jimmy's going to be able to find Irony, and that's 3 down for the Spark and the charge. They saw that bot, and it was in their sights, and now they're going to be able to get that progress themselves.
Yeah, good flip back. Still in a winnable position for both of these teams. 36 meters, pretty easy to push back from and meet, potentially even exceed. The symmetrical map though, you can see the exact same placement, probably going to stop just on that corner shy of the checkpoint. Good defensible position for the Spark to be in on this one. Nice cut through there, shy under the pressure, getting the healing he needs. He's got a Rakita right next to him for the Inspire and the armor pack to keep him up. They're going to use that shout in this next fight. B comes out from Xerneas. There's a rally from Irony, but it's shy to go down first to the Carnage.
Oh, the shout to shout, but Xerneas with the sound barrier is going to allow the charge to have that diff real quick here. The Spark are going to be able to back up. Here comes the Rampage, though. It's found 3, and Farway's not going to be there, so it's only really Xerneas for that sustainability. Not enough from the shout either from Krong as he gets taken down. He'll come back from with the Rampage, but Alpha E answering right back. Going back and forth now, getting a lot more aggressive in these side rooms.
Look at the distance they have to travel back here, Vicky. They're going to meet contestation in the exact same spot. They're going to have to deal with this on the exact same corner. Whoever breaks this corner hold first is probably going to be the team that ends up walking away with the win. Now, if you're the Spark, fantastic. You get the 5th map. But if you're Charged, you will close out the series if you can manage that. Now you're on the defense. Let's wrestle back some control and push it back into the enemy's court.
See if they have the opportunity. They do have Krong and his Rampage here. Choice One so close to that blade as well as Alpha E, but Choi does have that advantage, and he definitely will keep that advantage with Alpha E being gone. See the Disruptor shot to try to control some space as Krong tries to dive in with the Rampage. He's found 3. He gets the Carnage off there too, and the cleanup on top of that from the rest of the charge. An amazing fight there in these side rooms that have honestly really benefited Krong and Choice One more than the Spark.
You know, Krong's a serious contender for player of the match, the way they've been playing in the latter half of this series in particular. Right there, big ultimate with the Rampage, consistent damage, follows through with the Carnage to get the key pick of Irony off the board. Bot will keep on moving, going to get the touch. Spark just going to come into range. They really want to stop this checkpoint from coming in, but if they do it unsafely, it's going to cost them even more. And they will get the connection just shy of it, but Krong's already cleaned it up. Choi pulls out the blade, and Spark have just walked straight into their demise. Checkpoint's going to be captured off the back of this, no doubt whatsoever, Vicky, and it's starting to get dangerous from the Spark. They may enter into unwinnable territory.
Cleaning up that corner beautifully there too. Following up from the rally from far away with Choi So-won and his blade. Now they're going to be able to have the advantage here, but you look at the Spark, you look at their ult economy to try to contest that with the charge. I mean, Jimmy's about to get that overclock. Xerneas as well with the sound barrier. Here comes that shout to keep the rest of the charge alive, but it's definitely not going to be enough as the blade comes in. Bernard also with that jagged blade to get that follow-up. Krong gets taken out, so does Jimmy. Now the charge get cleaned up, but they're going to be able to have at least some room to breathe when they come to contest, since the bot has to make its way right back around to that other corner where it was originally stalled at.
Yeah, they've still got to try and break this defensive position. It's like they've not really made that progress they were looking for. They've got a lot to eat into the charge. Charge have a lot of time to be able to set up as well here. You know, they're positioning to just come and fight them on the bridge rather than at the corner in the first place, which is where you're going to abuse that map distance you've accrued for yourself. Rally popped. Support ultimate is still available in the form of the barriers on both teams. Jimmy has the overclock available, but has to back away from it. Can't hold that position. And finally loses his life to Bernard. Spark, they're in a great spot to be able to contest that next corner and make some progress, but it's just a kill box right now for them in that lower room. Krong's surely going to go down, and the bot keeps on trucking.
If the room on the other side wasn't going to work out for them, at least they took that fight on the other side room that was small enough to allow Bernard to pop off with Irony right there and the rally. So the charge also lose out on Jimmy in that ult, unfortunately. He didn't really get to capitalize off of it at all. They just fully dived in onto him, and now this bot's going to be able to wrap around that corner that we were looking at.
There you go, good progress made. You can see the nice little yellow line in front of them, still not matched what the charge have dealt. But killing Jimmy's a great way to work towards that, especially when Shy can pop the overclock immediately afterwards. Krong's got nowhere to go!
The fact, he's still going in! Gets that 3K real quick here, Trick. One more, can he add it to his collection of heads? The Disruptor shot, as he manages to nearly get away. Choice One gets to see another day.
And that's going to be Spark matching and exceeding the distance. It now becomes difficult for the Charge. They've got a huge position to push back. They've only got 3 minutes to do it as well, Vicky. Fight win after fight win after fight win, or the Spark are going to force us out to a map 5.
Here he comes, Choi, though. The Rampage as well onto Farway and Kwang, but the rally coming in from Farway as Choi Siwan's going to be able to dive into everybody in the backline from the Spark. Super Rich Irony get caught, so does Bernard. Everybody from the Spark gets cleaned up, and that's exactly what the Charge needed because they were staggering a little bit right there in that corner. I was worried for them, especially with the progress that now the Spark has been able to round up with.
But now they run into the same problem. They're probably going to stop 2 fights before they can actually get themselves back to that checkpoint and look to exceed resistance. Passed over the halfway point now. Spark aren't playing as aggressively. They weren't able to capitalize on that midpoint fight that the Charge had. But they are able to stall it shy of the corner. That play from Alfie goes in immediately for the Rampage. It's big from Krong.
Huge right there, finding Shy. Bernard falls incredibly low, and they finish him off as well with Jimmy having another opportunity with these Charge railgun shots. He finds Bernard, he finds Alpha Yi, and everybody else in the Charge are going to be able to clean up the Spark. Another team fight win underneath the belts of the Charge, and now they're going to finally get that progress with this push bot.
Should be able to match the progress, I hope. 1 minute 30 left does make it difficult. If they start losing consecutive fights, big! Oh. That's so big to actually get there and contest it. Now they just need to win the fight. If Spark win the fight here, Vicky, they might actually just take the map. It's going to be so difficult, but Krong goes in with the jagged knife.
Oh, and now they're going to be able to take care of Bernard and Irony. That's absolutely huge right there. That's what they needed right now for the Charge to at least find that progress. Now they're going to be able to match that with the Spark. Now they're going to be able to be in the lead after another team fight win. The Charge are looking to wrap things up right now with the limited time bank 2-trade. Now you have less than a minute for the Spark to actually get things going for themselves.
Irony and the rest of the Spark need to win this fight right now. If they lose it, they might even get capped. Like, if they do not win, they have to fight. They cannot just stall it out. They won't win the wrap. They'll lose the series. The aggression has to be taken from them. But Jimmy!
Oh, no! Jimmy finding Super Rich Choi, going in, finding Alpha Yi, the Spark. Understand what the nail in the coffin is here, too. They have too much of a limited time bank. They would have needed to win 3 more team fights after this one here, 2-trade. Charge now diving in, despite Super Rich having that sound barrier. What can be done here with this limited time bank? Less than 30 seconds on the clock.
You're playing for pride. It's no longer about winning the map, Vicky. It's about stopping the Charge from getting the disrespect cap. This doesn't happen on New Queen Street a lot. You can't let this happen. Hold your head high. Shy's finding these kills. But like you said, with 10 seconds remaining, they can maybe force overtime, but the amount of consecutive fight wins they would need to send this back to basically completion on the other side of the map is unprecedented. Charge just need to breathe on the Spark, and they'll be walking to a series win.
Like you mentioned before, it was also an expensive fight right there. Although Alpha E is about to have the blade, I'm looking at the Rampage, overtime ticking away, but here comes the Charge. They used up the shout, and they've already found Shy. We have noted it before how important that first pick is now here too. As Alpha E is going to try to dive onto Choi Swan, the rest of his teammates though in the back, like Bernard, are getting picked up. Here comes the Carnage. You see the Rampage now coming in, isolating only Irony, and it's not going to be enough for the Spark. The Charge now take control over the bot, have the extra progress, and they take the series on their hands.
3-1 scoreline, Vicky. You were raving the Charge coming into this, and your confidence, your trust was not disappointed. Charge able to come out here very back and forth, especially at the end there on push, but just able to come out with those consecutive fight wins, keep the momentum going, something the Spark were unable to break consistently against the Charge lineup. Choice in one had some fantastic pop-up moments, but I'm fairly confident that our player of the match is not a damage dealer. I don't think it's a damage dealer today.
It's gonna. What I'm really focusing on here too, Trid, is Charge right now. Basically, they've guaranteed themselves here in the Summer Showdown with that win here too. I mean, although they did get that 3rd win, it's that 4th win that really is that nail in the coffin to allow the Charge to feel comfortable here. They could take a breather, and it's that last place that's gonna be quite literally insane. But our MVP of the match is going to be Choi So-won. Trade. We were expecting maybe, is it going to be a mix-up here? We saw Choi be MVP just yesterday, but we can't deny the fact that Choi just went absolutely insane in this series. We did see a few mistakes here from both Choi and even Alpha Yi in some of these entry engages, but it was Choi at the very end who has always managed to get so much impact, especially isolating the backline of the Spark between Irony and Super Rich.
Hashtag Kron was Rob. I'm
Kron
kidding.
did
No,
amazing though. I've always looked at Kron.
I think if you looked at it numerically, we put them on a scale out of 1 to 100. We're talking about Choi So-won being at 100 and Kron being at 99. I think that was a very close series between who was walking away with that one. But yeah, no, I'm not disappointed by the fact Choi picked it up. Choi definitely was in that conversation very strongly as well. Fantastic plays here, lots of Genji cut downs, oftentimes getting more out of those substantial ultimates than Alpha Yi was able to accrue this series. That is ultimately not just an individual thing, it's also a team effort on how the teams are responding to the Genji aggression. Oh my god, what an intimidating man.
He's got the anime pose and everything. I mean, I
going,
don't know.
Like, come at me, bro. Come at me.
I don't know how I feel about this real quick. I mean, he's literally one with Genji too with the way, because, you know, Genji basically does the same thing when he wants to taunt you to come at him. So
yeah, I feel like production have photoshopped the blade out of his hand. It looks like he's about to ask me for my wallet. Like.
Oh man, and 49 final blows, 91 elims. What a way for Choi to be able to take MVP twice back-to-back, because again, he was the MVP of the series that we saw just yesterday between the Charge and the Hunters, and there's a reason why Choi has been in that conversation time and time again.
Just a consistently strong player, fantastic, thriving right now in the current meta, having access to the Genji, so able to just be a huge difference maker. Does sit quite highly in the standings when it comes to Genji players in the region, but there are some people, mainly who are you, that are still consistently just top dog when it comes to that particular hero. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the highlights from that past series.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everyone. The Charge just take our first series of the day here in the APAC region, and they are looking amazing while they do it, because now they took that series 3-1 over the Spark and guarantee themselves into the Summer Showdown tournament.
And that's the position you want to be in. It's the final week qualifiers, so you don't want to be going home. We already know the LA Valiant aren't going to be joining them. There is an interesting battle coming up next, though. Vicky, for the battle for who will dodge out that last place and stay in a consistent position to be able to go to Summer Showdown. Take a look at some highlights from that previous series, Spark versus Charge, very back and forth on Oasis, going around number 3, then a lot of defensive play coming in on maps number 2 and 3, and then we turn it around to map number 4, and oh my goodness, the Charge did really take it to the Spark at the end there, nearly completing on New Queen Street, which is a feat in of itself.
It was the dominating performance of them winning 4 team fights back to back, literally on New Queen Street, that basically guaranteed them that spot. Even in that very last minute contention to prevent the Charge from getting to that checkpoint to match the Spark wasn't enough. It seemed as if the Spark were getting a little ahead of themselves. They felt desperate at the very end there too, because they didn't really have the ultimates at that point for that fight to really contest. So in that moment, that also allowed the Charge to gain a lot of that momentum. But in the conversation of the players that we wanted to look at for player of the match, we were looking at Krong, I was looking at Jimmy, as well as Choi, and for all the right reasons here too, because the Charge were dominating on these 3 players, just in control of the game, in control of being able to survive, of course with the help of Xerneas and Farway there too. But I have to give it to the way that Krong was able to retaliate with his Rampage and his repositioning there too. It really helped enable Choi to get into that position to help contest Alpha Yi, who was dominating in the early part of the series.
Just consistently brilliant in the Charge in this particular split. I think Charge have really come into their own, and I don't think they're a top contender as for in the Eastern region, just because Dragon's Dynasty exists. We already kind of talked that maybe they've got 2 tier breaks between them and the rest of the Eastern region at the moment. But they are performing quite well above the standard that's been set out for them for the rest of the season. I'd be curious to see after this stage, when we potentially move away from a Junker Queen flavored meta. I know that we're expecting some kind of patch after Summer Showdown. Charge, I want to see them maybe keep the level of performance, maybe adapt to that as well as they have done with the current meta, and close out the season on a high. Don't think they'll be pushing the upper bounds of what can be done and maybe get into the later stage of the grand finals at this stage, unless there's some really niche specific meta that comes out next that really caters to their skills. But no, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, our second series of the night is going to be here waiting for you. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone, to our second series that we're going to have today in the APAC region. Off of a win from the Charge. Really pleasant to see, taking it over the Spark. Little mix-up there than what a lot of people were expecting. But now diving into this next series, we got the Chengdu Hunters versus the LA Valiants. And I know I was on my Hopium earlier, Trid. I was debating with you what we could expect for today. But you know what? I'm also on that fence because obviously looking at the way the Hunters have been performing, despite it, especially yesterday being lackluster, the Valiants unfortunately have not had the best time at all in this stage right now. And I feel like, especially with your fit right now, Trid, I can't even argue with it.
Especially with my fit? What's my fit got to do with this?
It's too fresh right now. I can't argue with somebody who's got a fresh drip like you. Like, come on.
If only that was the way it worked in real life. Like, whoever's like dripped out just wins an argument. Like, you don't even have to worry about it. Let's see if the Chengdu Hunters are dripped out there. Let's take a look at that lineup. Let's take a look at their uniform. Probably get some headshots of them this time around. Are they dripped out? Do they win by default by just having better kit? I don't know. I'm liking the color scheme. Very neutral. Very neutral in the hair. Works with a lot of the players' complexions as well. It's quite good. Yes, it's quite close to skin tone color because it's quite an earthy tone, but still very nice to see. I'd wear it. I'd wear them. I'd wear a Hunter. Send me one. Send me one.
Then you'll be just like Avril. You'll be able to rep